Man, I've been flat on my back for a couple hours. Some big stuff happening. Okay. Come on, are you going to work or not? Okay. All right. We are live on Facebook and YouTube. We've got a really special show today. This is our second show of the day. We don't have anything else scheduled, but that doesn't mean that we won't come back. But this is a really special show. Okay, that's not going to let me do that. All right. Abi Flynn's in the house. She's an incredible lady. She's got an incredible story. She really does. She healed herself. We've talked a little bit about it on one of the shows she came on. She came on to the show with Bradley Westcott, her husband. And but anyway, we're going to talk about that. But she also is a incredible and accomplished singer. So let me just make sure everybody's good. Okay. Welcome Facebook, welcome YouTube, welcome to the Zoom room. And so anyway, she's a very incredible singer. So instead of playing our intro today, we're going to play her new song, her new music video, which is called Courage. So get ready, because this is a powerful, powerful song. And then we'll bring her up right after the song.
I have so much courage in my soul. I have so much courage in my soul. All it takes is to relinquish the control. Gotta step outside illusions of control. And I fall into the beauty of it all. Yeah, I sit back as the mystery unfolds, and the perfection of what we could have known. Yeah, the perfection is something to behold. Yeah, it's courage. Courage.
WTF, man. In a good way. Wow. We can all eventually one day say we knew her when, because that's some powerful stuff. I love music, and I love productions that mix different genres, different styles. Man, that's just I don't even know what to say about that, but what a powerful production all the way around. All right, let's get Abby up here. I know y'all don't want to look at my ugly face all day. Okay, let's see. Hey,
Oh,
what's happening?
oh,
Wow, that was incredible.
thank you. Was that the first time you saw it?
Well, yes, it is. I saw it come out because I don't really get to see too much out there, but I saw it and then I thought, oh, well, I knew we talked about the music before, but when I saw the I guess the what do you call it, the thumbnail of the video, I thought, wow, that looks pretty well done. And then watching it now, yeah, that was the first time I actually watched it. So, but God, man,
Thank
your
you.
voice is. I'm from the South. I love blues music. I love black music, R&B, soul, old school stuff. I mean, I was listening to some Wilson Pickett last night, and man, your stuff is like, good, man, it's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So, yeah, that's
Thank you.
very nice. So just quick on that. So, are you? I mean, that's some really. That's some really good. That's a great sound. I mean, not your voice is obviously the centerpiece, but I mean, I would think you get some exposure with that. I mean, I don't know. Have you been in the music business? Have you tried to sell records and all that stuff? Because I know it's a tough business.
Well, I've been in the music business, I guess, my whole life. My journey into my spiritual journey began, when I was in the business very thoroughly, working for big artists around the world, and like George Clinton, and supporting some big acts, and I was gigging
Really?
every week.
So you worked with George Clinton.
Well, I supported a few big bands. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
like,
he's like he's
yeah,
one of my idols. I love him.
they're amazing. Yeah,
Funkadelic, Funkadelic.
Yeah, I did that.
Maggot Brain is like probably my second, third favorite song. Certainly
you know the vibe.
Absolutely, Parliament, Funkadelic. Yeah, I could start spitting some lyrics out now, but they'd probably censor me. But that's cool. So yeah, well, I wish you to. I don't see how you can do anything but succeed with a voice like that. I mean, that's just.
I had to walk to get the true confidence and alignment in what I was doing, and I went full circle. Like most people, we start out in our passion and our field on the spiritual journey, find a more wholesome and more authentic radiance within ourselves and the source, and then bring it all back together again. That's what I'm doing now. So that was my debut solo sound.
That was really,
because I've worked for other people for my whole life.
So that was your first solo? Your first recorded one? I mean, the first.
It was my first one that came entirely from me, and I put a band together and did it all myself. Yeah.
Well, to me, it's like because so like my sister Shakina Rose, she met I guess her divine partner Tim, and he's a music producer. I think he's spent a lot of time in Nashville, but he's done a lot of acts that you would remember. Well, you're kind of young, but I mean still. But anyway, so he's taken her harmonic light language and bringing it into kind of like a Enya type of thing, And so I can tell I don't know what you would call it, like the soul signature part of it, like it's something kind of new to music. And when I'm listening to you, I got the same thing. So it wasn't just the sounds that I'd heard before, but there's some type of remix in there coming through you, like your own form of light language or your own form of harmonics or something. Something's going on, that transformational energy, or maybe it's the story behind it all. Which, yeah, I was real happy that that you're coming on. And Morgan had mentioned it to me. We've been in a state of flux for a while, and but we're settled now. But I remember her mentioning something to me about it, and before we got over here, and then I saw it. Anyway, so I'm real happy because I know the general part of your story, but we didn't go through it real deep. And I think that's one of the things that you wanted to cover. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm happy to speak to whatever comes up. But yeah, it has been quite an amazing journey. So if it inspires, then I'm happy to share.
Well, I've met a couple of men, but probably 7, 8 women who had serious, well, by human, what do you call that? Perspective, limited perspective. They had what were very serious, life-threatening, afflictions or conditions, which was the same for you, right? I mean, yours was very, very serious, and I don't remember all the details, so I'd love to go back through it for everybody, because now, since the last time you came on, we're multi-streaming now, so there'll be 150, 200 people watching this live, and many people on the replay that probably haven't come across your story. So I don't know if you want to back it up a little bit. You can start wherever you want to. If you want to start when you came out of the womb, or you want to start with whatever. Whatever you want to do.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'll start with what organically came up at the beginning there, was when you asked about my music career. And I mean, I've been in that my whole life, but I think a lot of people who have been in the entertainment industry can relate. It's such an externalized way of being. I mean, humanity is a lot of the time anyway, but when you're a performer, especially a woman in the music industry, there's a lot of focus on what you look like, who you sound like other people's ideas of who you're supposed to be. And I had a difficult time in childhood with deep insecurities and abandonment and alienation, all the works that most of us light workers have. And I was doing up to 8 gigs a week by the time I was 26, and I had a record deal on paper. I was really successful.
What was that, like 1 year ago?
4 years now.
4 years. Well, I know you. I was thinking she can't be much older than that. Okay.
I can't tell you how much has happened in 4 years. Well, I will.
Yeah, right on.
But yeah, I was just existing as an empty shell and living in that distorted masculine matrix of pushing and forcing, and deeply insecure, had no relationship with my body whatsoever, didn't even know what that meant. But there was something, I was so connected to something, and when I sang, I would get a taste of that. It was what I now call God or source, or being connected to everything. And it was so strange. Whenever I was off stage, I literally just didn't know who I was. I felt empty and vacant, and I was full of self-hatred. And eventually at 26, even though everything was amazing on paper, I was in such a bad way. I one day asked my body and asked the universe in desperation, what's wrong with me? What do I need to do? And immediately this great big surging pain in my chest, in my heart chakra came. And that was the first time I'd ever spoken to my body, and it screamed, and it was telling me.
So you made the remark, you said, so you asked the universe. So that kind of alludes to, so up to that point, had you always kind of connected? I mean, had you had your own little, I mean, like for me, it was like a little private thing going on all the time with what we call God or the universe. Was it like that for you?
There was an inkling, but I'd never heard had any, no one had ever told me, or I'd never seen anything about, spirituality or. So
you were in this place kind of innate and intuitively, you just said, what's going on? Or, show me something. And then you get this rush inside of your body.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Wow. Did that freak you out?
It was really intense. Yeah, it was freaky. And that's when I started getting into, meditation and Power of Now and Louise Hay from that moment. And I realized after I started reading these things that there was this whole other deeper world that I'd always known but never been able to grasp. I never come across, like something in my body knew it, but I'd never come across it. And then as I did start to look into these things, it became apparent something horribly wrong was going on inside. At the time, it was really imbalanced, and it was very uncomfortable to even be in my body. And that's when the pain turned out to be an 11-centimeter tumor in my chest cavity, which was classed as Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a blood cancer. And I was still giggling.
So you had not, or had you had not been to a doctor. You just sat down one day to have this conversation with the universe in your body. Is that what happened?
That's
and
the first time I felt the pain.
Do you? Wow, that's just like, I mean, that's just like, whoa. So do you think that there was like do you think when you asked the question, you felt all that it kind of maybe, I don't know, maybe started it or expanded it, or it was waiting for you, or I don't know. That's just amazing.
Yeah, it was kind of the physical representation of when I decided to look and actually say, okay, what's here? I'm gonna, because I was numb. I felt nothing, and then I looked, and suddenly my body started screaming at me, and it was like a point of no return. It was truth or death, as I call it now. I had to walk this path of truth or death for like 3 years, and
wow,
the beginning. And you know, I at that time I was so out of alignment, so out of my own expression, deeply in self-hatred. I was in the music industry, but I wasn't doing my true voice. I was hiding behind other people's ideas.
So you were like a backup singer. I mean, not that there's anything wrong with that, but is that what you mean by, you were just supporting any way you could, I guess? I
sang lead, but for other people's bands, and I sang at weddings and things like that. Yeah.
You were playing small.
I was playing big time small.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up a couple of days ago. I don't even know what got into me, because you never know, right? It's like you sitting down going, okay, what's going on here? And I just said, I got to put something up, because I don't write a lot anymore. And I put, I'm tired of playing fucking small.
Yes, I like that.
Who wants to? And I was like amazed. There's like 800 people. Like, people are sending me messages, I'm with you. And people sending me like cures, and, you know, you need to go on this diet, and, you know, and telling me all this, like something's wrong with me. Nothing was wrong with me. I was just doing basically what you were doing 4 years ago. You know, let's move it up. Oh, so God. you had this conversation. You've not had, what am I trying to say? You've not had, like, say, a consistent, or what you would call, by your own words, you just had little snippets of spirituality or whatever. But then you sit down and have this conversation, and boom.
Yeah, felt it. Mm-hmm. And I now understand there was a bit of a Kundalini moment. You know, at the time I didn't know what was it was just like a lot of fluctuations of energy and bubbling, and then just this pain, and the pain didn't go away until, you know, a long time. So did the pain start in that moment? Yeah, the pain. And it never went away until it was 11 centimeter tumor, and I could feel that pain until I ended up having a little journey with treatment before I went my own way. And so, yeah, from that point I got diagnosed, and I was still like determined to keep living the way I wanted to live. I was still gigging. My type of cancer at the time, you know, being a 26-year-old and having no framework for self-empowerment, of course I went first with the medical treatment, and actually my type of cancer was very, very successfully treated by chemo. It's like the only one. But sure enough, from the beginning, the first message I got was, you're going to have to heal yourself. And I didn't even know what that meant. I was like, what? And I just there's so many synchronicities. World kept speaking to me, saying, the only way you're going to heal this is going straight to here. And that meant no treatments, no holistic treatments, nothing. Like, only me could do it. So, okay. I'm just trying to get a little echo. I'm trying to get a feel. So you're 26 years old, and I know what I was doing at 26 years old, but I'm just saying, you're running full blown, and then something's going on, and you sit down and go, hey, what do I need to do? What's going on? What's happening? Boom, this thing comes in, Kundalini, and this thing gets at least activated to a point where you're feeling it. And now
now you go down the road a little bit, you're hearing all this stuff, and then you're hearing, oh, you got to heal yourself, by the way. You're on your own here. This is up to you. Was this a voice that you'd heard before? Or was it, or maybe one that's had gotten louder? I mean, because obviously it got your attention.
Well, the first time I heard it, when I eventually got diagnosed a month down the line with this pain of what this was, I went straight from the hospital to play a gig for 300 people in the sunshine. And this was just a testament to how I existed for the stage. I didn't have a sense of being a person inside. I was just, anything happened, I'll go to the stage and I perform. So constant, this whole thing was just a manifestation of me coming back to belonging in my body again and being a human. But the moment I stood on stage, this is the first time this message came. It was like I heard it, but not clairaudience. It was almost like the knowing. It was like the sky spoke. It was like I could absorb it from, I was looking at the sea singing, and I just got this message that was like, you're gonna live, but you're gonna have to do it your own way. And I was the most disempowered little like mouse at that point, and I was just like, okay. And so began the journey of having to defy all of the odds. And
wow,
crazy.
And I can relate to that. You know, a lot of people, you know, like Morgan, you know, I'll ask her sometimes, so what does that voice sound like? Like a voice like someone's talking to you? She's like, yeah. Well, I don't get that a lot. I've gotten it a few times. I'm 58 years old, you know, but most of the time it's like what you're talking about. It's just like this knowing, like you can hear it, but you can't hear it. You know, you just know you got to do it, you know?
Yeah.
So you knew you had to, you knew, or you were told, whatever, it's one and the same, that you were going to survive it, but you weren't going to use holistic or medical treatments. You were going to do it yourself. How the hell did you do that? How did you do that?
So
how did you do that? How did you know what to do? How long did it take?
What I've come to learn from this is that every single thing I did, even when it felt like it was the wrong path, was the healing. The chemo was the healing. None of the chemo worked. It all made it worse. The radiotherapy, the holistic treatments, gathering community, you know, I'll go into the things that actually healed it. But every single thing I did showed me what wasn't me and what wasn't true to me. And therefore I was able to grow stronger and grow a better idea of going direct to source within my body. And so I started out doing chemo, which, you know, a lot of the time people I started getting into like the spiritual world and communities and meditation groups, and there was a lot of judgment against medical treatment. But actually, it gave me this time to plug into source. I was the most strangely blissful being taking chemotherapy. Very, very strange. The chemo itself was poisoning me, and it wasn't doing anything for my body. But me going through that process, somehow spending all that time in hospital, I was so tuned in to source. I started to get, you know, unlock my connection to life. And the problem was I was getting more and more and more in 5D and neglecting my body completely. But that was the first stage of my journey, and the chemo, like having cancer treatment, was like what held space for that, because I'd be there like.
So it made you present, like in the human, yeah.
In the spirit, actually. I wasn't really in the body, yeah. So that was the first stage of my journey. And the more I sort of went down that route of taking treatment, even though I knew it wasn't what was going to cure me, the bigger my tumor got. But the closer I got to the veil of death, the more plugged in I became.
Oh, I see what you mean. Okay, I see what you mean. Yeah, I didn't follow you there for a second. Yeah. So that's crazy. Yeah, I was thinking you were saying that because you were up there, that you were kind of forgetting about down here, and then you went to the chemo and that brought you down here. But now I can see what you're talking about. So it was making you sicker. You were getting closer to that point. It was like you were having a perpetual near-death experience.
Yeah, actually, when you put it like that, I think that's probably what was going on. And because I wasn't powerful enough yet to go straight to my own way. That just was the step. And in the time I was on chemo, I was meeting hundreds of healers and learning about energy healing and emotional healing and spirits and deities. And all of that time I spent on chemo, I was in these groups of light workers all around the world and like online and absorbing and learning. But I needed to be doing chemo at the time because that was the only way my human could cope. Like I couldn't understand that I could go against the system at that point. I started out like a mouse, so I had to.
Man, that's powerful considering everything that's going on right now.
Yeah.
You know? The judgment, like you were talking about the judgment, which not, by the way, is not just in the society outside of these circles, by the way, people, it's in the light worker circles as well, as I think you were alluding to. But so so you were like walking in both worlds.
I was, the whole time what happened when I started to have cancer treatment was that the self-hatred I felt became so illuminated that I began to not be able to run away from it. So I was working with it while I was on cancer treatment. I finally stepped up and said, I'm going to address this, and I'm going to put together an 8-piece band of my own. And through my art, that was how I began to see who Abi really was inside. So
you're 26 years old, which is phenomenal, because I've never heard anyone tell me that I can think of at 26 years old. I realized that I hate myself. You know, so that's huge. And then your way of transmuting it was to do something that you deep down had always wanted to do, but been too scared to, or to whatever. Okay.
And that, cool. Then so I started downloading music. Like, started downloading these songs, as you said. They might be like mainstream soul. They were holding transmissions of deep, beautiful codes in them, and it's through the voice it started coming. And again, it was really beautifully connected and spiritual, and I was having the most wonderful time journeying this, but it wasn't in the cellular yet. I was very much projecting again all of my divinity out into the world. I was doing gigs in London all around, like on chemo. I was like the face for like the blissed out cancer person. It was really weird. I was spreading a message that you are love and light, even when you have cancer and stuff, but I wasn't getting any better inside. So that was the first.
You were still acting. Like
I was still acting without knowing it, but I was very plugged in, but I wasn't married yet here.
I got you, yeah. Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. I remember the first time Morgan came in 2017, and I was totally different, and I wasn't going through anything like you have gone through. But I remember her telling me, when you talk to me, you're one person. When you talk to other people, you're another person. And when you go on camera, you're another person. I look for the day when you're always the same person in all three examples. And I'm pretty sure that I've hit that point. And I'm not trying to talk about myself. I'm trying to make a point about what you're saying, because I can relate to that. Because out here, you got it. But down here, we can still avoid, and ignore and medicate and many other things. But I think this is important to say that, because I think there's a lot of people that are in that space. I'm not saying that out of judgment. I'm just saying because it's not really a linear experience. What may have happened to me in 2011 happened to you, and energetically 5 years, 6 years later, and so on. But there's a lot of people that are getting downloads of some sort that are really going through the same thing that you're describing. Something wants to come out, something's coming in, and how do you navigate it? And you did it through creative expression. Yeah,
which was wonderful. And I was getting very fulfilled when I was finally getting the love that I would long for my whole life, that I felt missing. But I had created this situation somehow where it was still all coming from outside, and it was still coming through as long as I was making music that was celebrated. I didn't mind if I think deep down, I didn't know this. I didn't mind if I was dying as long as I was getting validation. So it was almost like a conditional self-love, only if I was able to maintain that external celebration for being the girl that had cancer that still had a music career. Like, yeah, so it was it was quite a majestic kind of play out of a victim wound, but it was a really necessary period for me.
Yeah, well, God, I'm getting chills because I don't know why, but because like what you're describing, you know, a lot of times as we're getting this contrasting information in revelations and epiphanies, we can really kind of, you know, we can go through a lot of pain in regard to our human aspect. Like, that's not me. Like, I'm not that person. And, you know, I mean, and you really explain it like you faced it head on and honored it, whether you were in pain or whether you were conscious to a certain degree or unconscious of what was happening. Let me ask you this way. So post alignment, we'll put it that way, post alignment, I know some great things have happened in your life. If you look at how you were on stage during treatment versus how you're on stage now, and I'm saying like, okay, people come up to you after the show, oh my God, you know, and tell you this and tell you that. What's the difference? How would you say, what's the biggest differences between then and now in terms of Abi?
Great question. It was like being this feather-like being that was floating between the two realms, trying to contain the enormity of transmission coming through, projecting it through my voice, giving an amazing show, going home and being incredibly unwell and ungrounded. And now it's like I'm there, I'm between two worlds, and I'm a tree, and I'm solid, and it's cellular, and I can absorb it into my body and naturally overflow and radiate it, rather than like trying to be some kind of ungrounded
superhero.
Yeah.
Trying to be some superhero, right?
Superhero, and
It's like sometimes I'll ask people and hope nobody gets mad at me. Because everything's cool, everything's all right, but sometimes I'll ask people, oh, what do you do when you get triggered? And they're like, I don't get triggered. Like, I'm past that now. I'm thinking, oh, superhero, you know. But seriously, I mean, it's God, we keep getting, and you're such a great example. I'm like totally intrigued by this. We're by force or by flow, we're being placed in that universal isolation, that isolation where the human is, you know, you can't be anything without the human being totally there, you know.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, that's what I see with you. Like you.
I don't know if I ever would have fully chosen that had I not gotten pregnant. I think even when I went on this huge journey later on of honoring the inner child and healing the emotions and really bringing the human into the forefront and allowing her to be immersed in truth. Like, even then I still almost wanted to choose and go back to the old way of just filling up on outside, and then I got pregnant. And I think my journey was very much in two stages for a very important reason, because I was so like
first half intermission, take a break, Abi. Boom, I'm knocked up. Whoa.
I got to be a phoenix for like 2 weeks now.
So, and of course Bradley's involved there too, because now so you're having all this stuff happen, but yeah, I can't, obviously, I mean, I helped, you know, 6 kids, you know, right, 5 of them were mine and 1 of them I adopted, but just they're all the same to me. But I've never carried a child, right? So I can't even imagine that you were like Tarzan swinging from one tree to the other, you know. Like, just, you know what I mean, like from vine to vine. Did you so so when that happened, where was your human at this point? I mean, did you ever get to the point where you're like, oh my God, I can't take this. I just went through that. Now I'm going to do this. And, plus all the normal stuff that happens. I mean, you're in a relationship. We know how the relationships are in this time. They're not like the old relationships. They're like totally different. And they're trying on the human, it's, did you ever just like want to shoot somebody?
Yeah, well, so post, failing all cancer treatment, sure enough, nothing worked because it wasn't in my alignment and truth. The first time I felt that, what you're referring to, that human rage, was that I found out on paper I had 3 weeks left to live because all treatment had failed. So what that allowed was for me to finally come out of my bliss bubble, like existing in spirit but not getting well in the body. And I got so angry, screamed at God, and was like, why do you want to kill me? I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the holistic stuff. I'm doing all the I've done everything. And literally, as I screamed and got really angry, I realized that I was screaming to myself and that I was God. And then I just literally went, oh, okay, I'm gonna approach this differently from now on. It was a really strange moment. That was the first moment that I felt that kind of rage, and that's when I went on a journey of realizing the importance of allowing all of the human voices to come and like be felt. And yes, Bradley and I are on a constant journey of doing that for one another. I met him much later on, actually the day before I got a clear scan. I met Bradley. I called him in, and we've done the work. We've done some big work together. But
you can't be conscious. You can't be in a conscious relationship and not be doing the work. I mean, that's a whole different subject. This subject is intriguing because energetically, I mean, your physical experience was extreme, but energetically, proportionate to people's experience, it's so, I don't want to say typical, because it's not typical. That would make it sound like, run of the mill, but it's just, this is like the path. It's like the hero's journey. Like you came back to you. Now, you were told you had 3 weeks to live.
Yeah, it was like I may not live 3 weeks because their next plan of treatment was going to start in 3 weeks. They said, we don't know if you're going to get to that point. And that's when I knew I had to listen to that first voice I heard 2 years previous, because that was 2 years of cancer treatment initially. And all the time I was doing a lot of spiritual work, but I was still on treatment. So it wasn't some people's path is treatment, but it wasn't for me. So I was still dying. So that's when I ended up doing self-love training, and I ended up learning all about the inner child and the more cellular level of healing. And when I went on that journey, it was almost immediate. Within 4 months, there's so much to it. And again, it was community as well, surrounding myself with community and learning about self-healing. Within 4 months, 21 centimeter tumor at this point. That's the biggest it ever got.
21 from 11?
I was almost being crushed from the inside out, and that's why I wasn't sure if I'd live up to 3 weeks more, because I was like hardly being able to breathe. Although I was still making my music. I recorded the vocals at that time, which is mad. I redid them later. But yeah, I was fully on death's door, and that's when I knew, again, truth or death. And I dropped everything: oxygen therapy, alkaline diets, energy healing from other people. I literally dropped everything, and I went straight to my own heart. Whatever was the medicine of that moment, I would follow that and be in impeccable discernment with what felt good in my body. And I learned about all the voices that were going on inside, and I started to use the outside as my mirror and navigate what it was that I was trying to tell myself that I needed to come home to in order to heal. Wow,
this is good. So let's talk about that. So we're going to talk about, I'm not trying to order you around. This is a two-way conversation, but I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued by the multiple voices, because I can relate to this. And I think this is part of what we've forgotten we know there's multi-dimensionality, but the multiple voices or consciousnesses or layers, whatever you want to call it, of the human. We think it's just this one human, and it's not. There's much there. And then also that second part you talked about. But what do you mean by that? The many voices. Were you talking human and multidimensionality? Were you talking about your inner child, your inner children, that type of thing?
Yeah, so what I was referring to then is the sort of many fragmented selves. There's, yes, as you would say, the inner children. There were many parts of me that I'd never given light to. I'd never given any acknowledgement to. There was very deeply afraid parts, very deeply angry parts, all like parts of me that had experienced traumatic things in my life and had just been repressed and then built up on top was performers and masks I'd cultivated to survive. And it was unraveling and letting all of these parts of me started to have voice and a chance to express themselves. Yeah. And that was fun.
I bet that was. Yeah. Fetal position on the floor, crying, vomiting,
And at that point it was very scary because all of my family and my old friends obviously thought I lost it, because I said to them, I'm not going to do any more cancer treatment, and a blood cancer is only curable on paper by having a stem cell transplant, which I refused. And they were all terrified. Everyone in my life was terrified for me. I said, so I'm going to listen to myself, I'm going to listen to God, and I'm not going to do anything else. And people just thought I'd gone mad, which I probably had, but it was my path, and it was.
Yeah. Well, I've been saying for 9 years that I'm living proof, among other people, that you can lose your mind and you can absolutely go crazy and still find the light.
Exactly.
I don't know how you explain that, but like I can relate to what you're talking about too, because I remember distinctly saying to myself, I don't care if the whole world tells me I'm wrong. I know my truth, and the universe knows my truth, which is the point that you're describing here, because I'm sure nobody came to you and said, hey, I'm with you on this one. You don't need to do anything. Just, you know what I mean? I would find that hard to believe, but
well, I was very lucky, actually. I came across quite a few people who were angels sent to me, really, who said, okay, we want to hold you in a ceremony and literally hold you in your truth. Nothing else. We're not here to heal you.
Right.
I ended up manifesting 6 men and 6 women. One day, everyone wore white. I sat in the middle, and we held me in this deep, deep, deep divine space of absolute
Wow,
truth.
that's powerful.
Yeah. Oh,
you're a freaking shaman, man. That's powerful.
Every time I start to yeah.
Yeah, that's powerful, because you created that. Now, you made the comment after about the multiple layers, multiple voices. Then and again, I can relate to this, and not about me. I'm talking about the people out there. I believe this is a language they're starting to understand, the symbology of our moment by moment existence. And you said, so I started to apply myself to recognizing what I was creating for myself and trying to tell myself, basically. Can you kind of elaborate on that for those people that, or maybe you're just coming into this? What does that mean? What is that experience like for you, as you go through your day and you see things, in your words, presented to yourself?
So from the moment I described, when I allowed myself to actually get angry and enter a duality where there was me versus life, and there was this force that wanted to kill me, it was like, why is this thing happening to me? It's unfair. That allowed me to suddenly unleash this idea I had that there was something trying to get me, right? And then so I was like, so I'm seeing two. Seeing me, and I'm seeing this force. And in that moment they collapsed, and I suddenly just had this feeling that if I could get on the same side with the thing I was perceiving as against me, that I could create anything. And from that point, I just started to look at everything around me in life as me wanting to guide me back to a higher truth that wanted me to get better.
Yeah.
And so it was like this moment of trust where I realized everything was medicine. Everything. There's no such thing as you shouldn't do the medical because that's bad and you should only do energy work or whatever. It was like anything that's coming up in my life is a potential for healing. I get to choose how I walk that path.
Yeah.
That was my experience. And so shady characters were coming into my life and I was saying, okay, well, this one's a wonderful teacher, and seeing the things that triggered me about them and thinking, I wonder what that is in me that I'm wanting to show myself. And so it was this experience that everything around me was a mirror for my own.
You must come from the same branch of the tree of life as Morgan. You sound just like her. It sounds like when you do, and I just got this epiphany too, I guess, or, she says I'm a translator, or maybe that's what it is. I don't know, but I can kind of see what I see is I see this person, which could be anybody. I mean, you think about it. We all hit our knees, right? We've all been there. We hit our knees. So what are we doing? We're praying to this polarity that we identify with. Love and hope and, all these things. And then there's the big monster over there, the one that like you were saying, something's trying to kill me, something's trying to hurt me. And you got on that side of it. And when you got on that side of it, then you basically did it's like a powerful 0 point. Like you merged, you held in regard what you were separating yourself from, in the same regard as you did what you, figuratively speaking, prayed to, appealed to, Well, by the same token, since you did what I did and you cursed God out, you actually held him in the disregard as you did for the monster. So it all came together anyway, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think somebody is asking how did I do that? Well, it was entirely intuitive, and I don't think I could ever recreate or describe it.
Yeah.
It was because I was on the veil of death, and because I literally saw in that moment that there was an end, and I could end my human life, and that would still be okay, and it would still be holy. It didn't mean anything evil. And that literally just kind of dropped in. The moment I let myself feel the enormity of my human rage and disgust and all of the anger, and realize that too was holy and welcome.
Yeah.
That was how it just suddenly something went, so it's all okay. Therefore, even if I die, it doesn't matter what happens, it doesn't mean I'm evil. That was the big thing. I was like, so I don't have cancer because I'm evil. I'm just, I have this belief that I must be evil if I'm ill, or I must be bad or wrong. And therefore, if I can change that belief, maybe I won't have cancer. And that just started to happen. Everything that arose in me, I started to see if I could bring it back. But radical acceptance, allow all of it, bathe it all in my awareness, say hello to it, take it in, love it.
Yeah.
And then, sure enough, in that instant, the monster became just love.
It's all one and the same.
All the same.
Jesus and Satan, same thing. I mean, but see, I can relate to this too, because to me, it was like a process of elimination. Like I got to the point, I was like, well, what's left? What haven't I tried? And that big, the big monster in the corners, and you just finally go, okay, take me or whatever. And I don't know. And the other thing that's really huge, I think, especially coming from a woman, a powerful woman, because of the fact that they're embodied as this universe that bears universes, right? Is the emotion. A lot of times we all know in this patriarchal, we shut down the emotions or ignore the emotions or judge the emotions if it's a man looking at a woman or whatever the case is. But but allowing the emotions, which doesn't mean you go out, you go out and take it out on other people, but to allow the emotions to come out, and you were doing the same thing. You were honoring that human. you know, and but I guess what I'm saying is, from what I'm picking up, you know, and this is recent, so I guess it's in the field, I don't know, is that the importance of the emotions in terms of creation, like at least in this time and space, in this realm, like the emotions have some type of alchemic or some kind of catalyst or something.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Really.
That's why I wrote Courage, because you put that really beautifully. Yeah, it's like when you allow perceived darkness, the ugly, the parts, the human parts that we don't want to be, that we want to rush to ascend and, you know, transcend, when we allow them to dance as part of the divine experience that they always were, they become the raw material for our highest gifts.
Yes.
So journeying through all of those human parts that I'd never allowed, that I was trying to skip straight past, then that's what brought my healing from here conceptually to the cellular level. And that's when the cancer in my body that was just made of children, in my perspective, children that needed me, it just all unraveled immediately. Like crazy experiences, but yeah, there were several crazy experiences within that. So that was the circle that I manifested after I began to see the world the way I was, and I realized that I could create my healing how I wanted. I came across these beautiful people. I did a self-love training with Tara Love Perry, and that's when Israel and Nikki popped up, and they were literally like these divine masculine, feminine archetype beings.
Who was this?
So these are two friends of mine that I came across at that moment who said to me, we want to hold a circle for you. Can we help you? And so we got together, 6 men and 6 women, as I said, and we sat in a circle, and they literally just held me in the truth of whatever that anything that I was beautiful, to radically accept and be entirely present and bring those two elements together in one potent alchemical moment with 12, 13 beings.
Wow.
And it's not like they were like healing me and I was in the middle of receiving. It was like the healing was already done.
Yeah.
The idea was that I'm not ill. There's no such thing as the illness. And they held me in that knowing. And a month later to that day, I had this insane experience where the tumor, suddenly something started to happen, and it started to unravel, and I had energy rushing up my body, and my chest was exploding, and my heart was at like 160 BPM, and because I've had a lot of heart monitors, so I felt about that. And yeah, suddenly I saw this, I saw these two paths, and one was you can die and that's okay, or you can realize that you're worthy of life even with or without cancer, and you know you can choose to stay alive and know that whatever happens is perfect. And I chose this path, and as I did, just this explosion in my body, and all of the physical things in my life I'd created that were out of alignment rapidly disappeared. I moved house. That's when I met Bradley a month later, and everything, I shifted timelines, and I went for a scan, and there was nothing there, and they hadn't seen anything like that before. And I never went back since. It's, you know, blood cancer, and it's, you know, I should have technically, it should have come back, but I knew in that moment I had just moved myself from the reality of needing, for me, that out of needing any illness, because I was like, I'm going to do this all firsthand. And
that's powerful. That's like, man.
I
mean, I've heard a couple of stories like this. Mick Rogers out of Adelaide they were going to amputate his leg, and then in the night before, he had an experience or came to a decision or whatever, and got up the next day and said, I'm not going to do it. Everybody told him he was crazy, and now it's 15 years, 20 years later, and I've heard of a couple other ones like this. So, you know, what comes to mind, and I remember when I woke up in 2011 and I started getting transmissions or whatever you want to call it, downloads. One of the things that was said to me was they were like, okay, you're going to work for 5 years, and, you know, really bust your ass. And then, you know, I guess everyone's going to start waking up in the world. But they said, you have a choice. You can leave at 58 years old. I'm 58. And I remember them showing me, and what you just said, they said, here's one way, to go. Here's the other way to go. Either one of them is okay. And you know how when you first wake up and things happen and you're like doubt yourself and you're not sure, did that really happen? Am I imagining this? But I did. I made a choice that day. I said, you know what? I like to go for it as long as I can go, you know? But I guess the reason I'm bringing that up now that you described that is that, do you think, I mean, to me, I walk away from it and I kept approaching this age that I am now, and probably a year and a half ago, I knew that what I had done back then made me, you know, in other words, I was more than confident. I knew that I would continue past this age.
Yeah.
And so what came to me, and you remind me of it, is, do you feel like we have a choice? It's like, if you leave it up in the air, it's up in the air, but we actually have a choice here. I mean, that's part of our creator ability, you know.
Yeah.
It really is. It's not up to the higher self. The human has a say so.
Yeah.
I mean, this is me talking. I'm not saying it's gospel, but do you feel like that that we have a choice, and that maybe we exercise that choice, or at least we have the opportunity to?
Yeah, it's a big edge to explore that, and it took me a long time to be okay with the fact we have a choice, because it's easy to believe, this is my perspective, it was easy for me to believe it was only destiny. But the second I married my understanding of source with myself and realized they were one and the same, I realized that there was infinite choices.
That's right. Yeah.
All of them were beautiful, and there was nothing wrong in any of them. Even, there's nothing.
That's what I'm getting at, because not only did I experience that, and you remind me of it in a frequency manner, but other people I've heard, and it seems like that. Well, okay, so anything that's possible, let's say in lucid dream state, you know, or dimensional travels or whatever. I mean, we are in control. We are sovereign of every single part of it. And I love what you said, that this piece over here, what some people call higher self or God or source or universe, and this piece here, which is in the flesh, is really one and the same.
Yeah.
And this is where it's getting interesting. It's like, what are we going to actually be able to do in this body? I mean, look what you did. Like, you knew when you were feeling all that, just like you knew when you asked in the first place. You knew something wasn't right. And then you give this description about the emotions, which I've never really heard anyone explain it as well as you did, you know, like with the song and everything, is that was all your trapped emotions. Yeah. And when you screamed and hollered and cursed and, you know, all that stuff, and you allowed that, it was blown up. Yeah.
Radical acceptance. So it's incredible. And I was infertile and I got pregnant immediately after that. So my whole body changed after I let those emotions go. Like, it changed the whole landscape. I had one fallopian tube anyway. I had so much chemo. I was deemed infertile. I went to the clinic. They tested me. There was no eggs. 2 months later, I met my partner and immediately fell pregnant. And just as a testament to like everything that was in there blocking and not allowing me to illuminate that space in my body, wherever it was, just suddenly reversed. And I had to go on a whole nother journey after I got pregnant. There was a whole like deeper level of this, but
really
finally kind of, that's for another day. I'm finally coming like back full circle now. You know, I shot the video at 8 months pregnant with Courage, but
that was beautiful, by the way,
to get out.
I love that. That was so beautiful. And you started, do you have time to go over? Do you need to go?
I've got a show in 15 minutes.
Okay, let's go 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Is that okay? So it's a good way to segue into the conclusion anyway. And Mary, what you started with where we ended. So you started this thing with something that's very common to people and that seems to be up right now. I had a sister come by and visit us on our way to California, and she brought it up and she had a word for it. And I can't remember what it was. But anyway, the body, the physical body. And that's far more than what we look like. You know, obviously there's more layers to it, but you, you bring that all the way around. You started with, the self-loathing and the whole, and it's in the body and everything's happening in the body, but also the transformation, the alchemy, the magic happened in the body. Like, I mean, that's just like mind blowing. I mean, it's such a testament to, or maybe a precursor, because I saw your eyes light up when I said, I wonder what we're going to be able to do in these bodies, like, and to me, like, if this has happened with you, it's happening with other people. I mean, what's going to happen? I mean, look how much the internet's changed this in 10 years.
Yeah.
It really didn't blow up till 2010. So what's this kind of code or technology or occurrence? What's it going to do? What's it doing in the energetic field? How's it accelerating our evolution, et cetera,
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. It's getting faster as well. That's just like the internet and human evolution are the way that we can be more innately in tune with our bodies is evolving faster. And yeah, it's as the new paradigm world sets in, it just seems to become instant. Like these things, it's very different now to it was for me 3 years ago, and it is exciting, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And I really believe in art as like such a powerful way to carry that transmission.
Art.
My art, my music.
I totally agree with you. I absolutely, and I think anything can be art. This show can be art. You know what I mean. But I absolutely think that's the way out. You create your way out. Like I love the way that you took that in, and you didn't go write a book, and you didn't. Not that would have been but you did it in a way that's almost wordless. Like there is, like your song has lyrics, but I mean, it was the expression, it was the power, it was the putting the band together, it was putting the music together, it was everything put into this expression of transformation, which is incredible. How can we support you?
Oh, well, yeah, come to my Facebook page is where I do most of my musical ventures, which is
you have CDs or EPs or whatever they call them?
It's on Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Okay. Yeah, so it's Abi Flynn, as you can see there, and the Facebook is at Abi Flynn Singer. And yeah, I've just brought out this music after this 3-year journey. I've gone full circle, and now I'm actually able to birth it because it's taken me that long to hold that transmission. And I just have a passion for alchemy and it being our own human flavor married with divine, rather than like needing to give up the human flavor. I'm all about bringing it into the mainstream, bringing it into creation. And yeah, so go check that.
That's it, man. That's it in a nutshell. Well, we'll have to do this again sometime later in the year if you're up for it.
Oh, thank you. I haven't spoken on a show for like years, so thank you.
You haven't? Really? Wow,
really.
I wouldn't know. But I mean, yeah, maybe we can squeeze another episode or two in before you go global and you're, so in demand we'll never see you again.
Yeah.
I'm kidding with you. Best to you and your husband and your beautiful baby and everything you're doing. Yeah, if you do anything that you need to expand awareness about, let me know. Soulspeaks, we'll put it through the network, and I look forward to collaborating again with you and your family in the future.
Yay, thank you, and give my love to Morgan.
I will do that. Thank you so much.
Love. Bye, everyone.